Netflix's One Piece adapted a lot of characters from the manga series into live action. While many fans are calling the show an adaptation finally done right, others argue that it's not really any better than what we usually get. Who's right? Well, let's find out by using the powers I got from eating the adaptation fruit to rate every single character adapted into the show by how similar or different they are to the manga and sometimes anime source material, and then rank them all from the worst adapted up to the absolute best. How will we achieve this dream? By using the 3C's system of costume, character, and continuity. Costume rates a character's outfit, their overall look, and their superficial physical characteristics. Character rates their personality, their relationships with others, and their powers or abilities. And continuity rates their origin story, their iconic moments, and their overall place in the world. Since there are so many frickin' characters to get through, I'll be skipping anyone who only appears on a wanted poster or whose face we never see. And though I'll avoid manga spoilers, some minor ones will inevitably slip through, so you've been warned. So let's find out who gets the title of King of the Source Material and see how well or poorly the show did overall at adapting these characters by starting at the bottom with the absolute worst adapted character in Netflix's live-action One Piece we have at number 52, Hachi. Hachi is supposed to be an octopus member of the Arlong Pirates. In the show, he is not an octopus. He's a random fishman who doesn't really do anything and looks exactly like one that we see in the background of the anime in a couple shots. He's named Hachi in the credits, though I've heard that someone behind the scenes claimed that this was a mistake. But since the character he's supposed to be was completely cut from the show, it doesn't really matter either way. Not off on a good foot, but now up to 51 with Sham. The only similarities are that Sham is a member of the Black Cap Pirates, works under Kuro and alongside Bucci. But instead of being a hunchbacked guy with green hair who fights with his claws, live-action Sham is a normal-looking blue-haired girl who fights with a sword and a mop. And instead of attacking Syrup Village alongside Kuro's crew, she's been posing undercover as Kaya's maid for years. At 50 we've got Chow Chow. In the manga, Chow Chow is a dog living in Orangetown whose master owned a pet shop and died of an illness, with Chow Chow standing guard over that shop in his absence, remaining even when pirates drive everyone else from the town, with his strong spirit and story inspiring Luffy to fight those pirates. In the Netflix show, Chow Chow is just a random dog we see running with the villagers as the Straw Hats leave. Luffy never meets him, and he's an entirely different breed. At 49, we have Ukari. Ukari is a Marine serving at the Shellstown Marine Base under Axe-Hand Morgan. In the manga, he lives under fear of Morgan, and is nearly killed when he accidentally scratches a statue of him. In the live-action version, he looks nothing similar and is seduced by Nami so she can knock him out and steal his uniform. So, he's a Marine. That's about it. I really don't know why they bothered to use that name. Now up to 48, we have Bucci. The Black Cap Pirates do not raid Syrup Village in the show, so like Sham, Bucci has been working undercover under Kaya for years, serving as her cook and slowly poisoning her at Kuro's orders, which is nothing similar to his role in the original. Unlike Sham, though, he actually looks and dresses kinda similar, only he does not go shirtless, and instead of fighting with his claws, he fights with knives. At 47, we move up to Boodle. Boodle is the mayor of Orangetown and looks virtually the same, just without his armor. In the manga, he escapes the village with the other residents when it's attacked by pirates, though he's moved by Chow Chow and Luffy to fight for the town despite his weakness. In the show, he and all the residents of Orangetown are chained up and forced to applause for Buggy's circus show instead. Boodle is forced to help torture Luffy, and when he protests, Buggy threatens to kill his citizens. So visually the same, but otherwise nothing similar. At 46, we have Rika. In both versions, Rika is a young girl living in Shellstown who offers Zoro rice balls. In the manga, because he saves her from Helmeppo's wolf, leading to him being strung up without food for a month, and her trying to sneak him some in thanks. In the show, she just offers them to him in a restaurant, but bumps into Helmeppo, angering him and spilling her food, leading to an altercation between Helmeppo and Zoro. Besides having pigtails, they look nothing similar. Up to 45, we come to Don Krieg. In both versions, Krieg is the captain of the Krieg Pirates, who took his fleet of ships to conquer the Grand Line, but loses most of his fleet when he crosses Mihawk. While in the manga, Krieg returns to the East Blue, attacks the Baratier, and fights against the Straw Hats as the main villain of that arc, in the show, he and his entire crew are killed off by Mihawk in the Grand Line. While Krieg is very deceitful and underhanded, wanting to win at any cost in the manga, in the show he seems thrilled by a straight battle of strength against Mihawk. He lacks the over-the-top muscular build, but has the purple hair and does wear his gold armor. Side note, both Pearl and Idea Man are seen dead next to him. Their outfits are nearly identical, but we can't see them that well, so eh. Up to 44 with Galley. Galley is a pirate who rudely visits the Baratier much later in the manga, though the character first appears in the precursor comic to One Piece Romance Dawn, and does appear in anime filler before his comic appearance. In the show, he's at the Baratier when the Straw Hats arrive, but is in an argument with Full Body that Sanji tries to calm down. His outfit and facial hair is nearly identical to the anime adaptation of Romance Dawn, though he otherwise looks completely different. Now at 43, we have the tightrope walking Funin brothers. There are only 2 Funin brothers in the show instead of 3. In live action and the manga, they are members of the Buggy pirates who are tricked into exiting their boat by Nami, and Nami stealing that boat and the treasure on board afterwards. In the show, they are never seen again, and I'm just going to assume they drowned, while in the manga, they return later. Now up to 42 with Full Body. Full Body is a marine on a date with Moody. In the manga, Sanji embarrasses him and flirts with his date. He tries to get revenge on Sanji by putting a fly in his soup and complaining. But when Sanji ignores him, he gets mad and slams the soup on the floor, leading to Sanji kicking the crap out of him for wasting food. In the show, he's in an argument with Galley instead, who he never meets in the manga. Sanji tries to calm them down, but Full Body pulls a gun, leading to Sanji beating both of them up. He looks and dresses the same as the original, with his pink hair, pinstripe suit, and brass knuckles. But we never have it confirmed whether or not he's a member of the Marines. At 41, we have Paddy. Paddy is a cook on the Baratier. In the manga, he is polite with customers, but gruff and blunt in the kitchen, and is also willing to toss out those who can't pay. When the ship is attacked, he fights alongside the rest of the crew to defend it. In the show, since they cut out most of the Baratier arc, Paddy does not do much. We see him in the kitchen a few times, and he lightly chastises Sanji for feeding Jean. He dresses similar, has blue hair and his unique facial hair, but doesn't have his large sailor's build or Popeye arms. At 40, we come to Garp. In the manga, Garp is a Marine Vice Admiral who shows up to take Morgan prisoner. He sees the bravery cadets Koby and Helmeppo displayed during Morgan's escape and takes them to Marine headquarters for training. Hundreds of chapters later, he returns, with it being revealed he's Luffy's grandfather. In the show, he is revealed to be Luffy's grandfather after only a few episodes, and he has a much bigger role. He takes Koby under his wing, specifically due to Koby's connection to Luffy, and has an obsessive desire to capture his grandson at nearly any cost, with it later being revealed to have all been a test to see if Luffy's committed enough to his dream to survive the pirate's life, or something like that. In the manga, Garp doesn't approve of Luffy's decision to become a pirate, but takes a casual attitude about it, even being happy to let him go unless he's explicitly ordered to capture him, and even has a sense of pride in his grandson's accomplishments. The show version is stern, calculated, and authoritative, while the manga version is reckless and aloof, falling asleep at random times and inadvertently breaking things due to his own strength when not paying attention. And while the manga Garp laughs quite often, the show version only does so when Luffy escapes his clutches, laughing maniacally and breaking things as if he's just gone insane. Both are tough old men with gray hair, a heavy muscular build, though not as much as in the manga, who are strong enough to toss full cannonballs at enemy ships and break structures with his bare hands. Both versions wear a marine uniform and sometimes a dog hat mask thing. One of the biggest differences is that in the show, Garp is present at Roger's execution, righteously announcing to onlookers that the days of piracy are over, while in the manga his feelings about Roger's capture and execution are more conflicted. But despite all these changes to his personality and role in the story, at the end he is impressed by the bravery and sense of justice of Koby and Helmeppo and offers to train them. Up to 39 now with Nojiko. Nojiko is Nami's adopted sister. She and Nami are found and adopted by Bellemere after their families were killed in a battle between Marines and pirates. Both versions have blue hair and red bows and tattoos and are shown wearing bright yellow tank tops, but otherwise the show version really looks nothing similar. In both versions, Bellemere is killed by Arlong when his pirates attack their village. But in the manga, after she's killed, Nami is forced by Arlong to work under him to try to earn her village's freedom. Nojiko is aware of this deal and deeply sympathizes with her sister, getting her tattoos to match the one Nami is forced to get of the Arlong pirate symbol as a sign of secret solidarity with her sister. In the live-action version, Nojiko does not know Nami is trying to save the village, and thinks she just went to work under the man who literally killed their mother because she's a greedy bitch, leading Nojiko to despise Nami and treat her like scum. She later learns the truth, but I guess she just got the tattoos because she thought they were cool then. At 38, we come to Jin. Jin is a member of Don Krieg's crew who arrives starving at the Baratier. In the manga, he arrives at the front entrance after shooting a man. In the show, he arrives through a random side door. In both versions, he demands food, and though other chefs refuse to serve him, Sanji does. In the manga, this leads to Jin bringing the rest of his starving crew to the ship, leaving him conflicted when his captain, Krieg, repays the Baratier's kindness by trying to take it over, initially fighting alongside Krieg, but later rebelling against him. Since the Krieg pirates are all dead in the show, none of that happens, and Jin just tells Luffy how dangerous the Grand Line is and disappears from the plot. At 37 we have Koby. Koby is a captive of Alvida who secretly dreams of becoming a Marine. He finds Luffy in a barrel and is shocked by his open audacity to proclaim his own dreams of being king of the pirates. In the manga, Koby is inspired by Luffy's willingness to stand up to others to finally stand up to Alvida himself, which leads to Luffy respecting Koby in turn. In the live-action version, he is too scared to speak out against Alvida, and so Luffy does so for him. In the manga, Koby's sense of justice leads him to try to help Zoro escape his imprisonment, and he becomes brave enough that when Helmeppo holds a gun to him to try to stop Luffy from fighting Morgan, Koby tells Luffy not to worry about him. In the show, he does not do any of that, and is not a part of Luffy's attack on the Marine base, though he does appear afterwards sucker-punching Helmeppo when he tries to pursue Luffy. Though the circumstances are very different, Koby joins the Marines after Luffy leaves and is taken to be trained by Garp, and both versions eventually form an unlikely friendship with Helmeppo. In the manga, Koby's story is not a major focus after this, until he returns to the main story hundreds of chapters later. In the show, he's a major character, who we see have many conversations with Garp, go to Syrup Village and talk with Kuro, nearly capture Luffy before letting him go, and even gives Luffy his first bounty poster. Visually, despite being taller than he's initially portrayed, Koby looks a lot like the original, with thick-rimmed circle glasses and pink hair. Both versions are often sheepishly nervous despite moments of bravery and are willing to stand up against even the Marines for what he believes is right. Up to 36 now with Buggy. Buggy the Clown is captain of the Buggy Pirates, with the Devil Fruit ability to split his body up at will, able to levitate and control each part separately, in the manga being unable to levitate his feet, while in the show he can. Both versions love praise and attention, and is always talking himself up. The show version exaggerates this characteristic to a psychotic degree, chaining up the residents of Orange Village and forcing them to watch and applaud a literal circus show he and his crew perform, explaining that his dream is to have all the world watching him, while in the manga his dream is just the typical pirate's dream of gaining wealth and status. He has his round clown-like nose that he's very sensitive about, as well as his blue hair. They're dressed similar, but the show version is a lot grungier, giving him a bit of a Dark Knight Joker vibe. Both versions hold multiple knives between his fingers like claws while fighting. Both versions reveal to Luffy that he had served on a crew with Shanks and caused damage to Luffy's straw hat. And both versions are beaten when all of his body parts besides his feet, hands, and head are contained, with Luffy hitting him hard enough to send him flying into the horizon. In the manga, Buggy eventually lands on the Island of Rare Animals and meets Gaiman, who is not in the show, but is shown in a painting, only not in his chest, before eventually reuniting with his crew and getting his body back. While in the show version, he's just fine in the next scene. While the manga version is a free agent, the show Buggy serves under and must pay tribute to Arlong, with Arlong taking his head to track down an ear he somehow hid in Luffy's head, and the Straw Hats then taking that head to track down Arlong afterwards, leading to him having a much bigger role in the show. Later on, though, both versions eventually team up with Alvida and vow revenge on Luffy. At 35, we've got Mary. Mary in the manga and live action looks virtually the same, including the suit and lamb-like hair and horns. In the manga, he is Kaya's loyal butler. In the show, he's her estate lawyer, and so is a lot less close with her. Both versions are slashed by Kuro as he reveals his true nature. In the manga, after Mary tells Kuro about what he believed to be Usopp's lies about his true pirate identity. In the show, Kuro tells Mary that Kaya wants to sign her inheritance over to him. Mary asks to verify that with Kaya, which apparently Kuro didn't expect, so he slashes him, which straight up kills him in the show, while he recovers and warns Kaya about Kuro in the manga. In the manga, the Going Merry was designed by Mary, and after the Straw Hats save Kaya, Mary gives it to him, while in the show, Kaya does so, and they name it in his honor. At 34, it's Moji. Moji is a member of the Buggy Pirates. His white furry bear cap and top look virtually exactly the same. In the show, all we see him do is hold a sign that says applause for Buggy's captive audience. In the manga, he's a beast tamer, being the trainer and friend of Richie the lion. We hear Buggy ask where their lion is in the show, and we see a poster with his picture on it, but we never actually see him. Despite Buggy's abuse, Moji is loyal and dedicated to him in the manga. In the show, he cringes in fear when Buggy yells at him, seeming to be as much a captive as the rest of the audience. Up to 33 now with Axe-Hand Morgan. Morgan was a Marine captain and father of Helmeppo. In the manga, he is a violent and narcissistic tyrant, with the people of the town afraid of his wrath, and forcing them to display statues of him in his honor. He is willing to kill a Marine just for scratching a statue, and orders a young girl's execution for disobeying his order. He openly threatens to kill his own men if they question his orders, and orders them to do it themselves if they fail him. And though his son believes he loves him, Morgan treats him with open contempt. In the show, besides posters of him on display, there is no evidence of him being this vain or psychotic. Instead, he comes off as a typical hard-ass Marine leader who just hates pirates. Both versions have axes on their hands and steel jaws, though in the show he has 2 hands and only wears the axe in battle, while in the manga, it's a prosthetic. Both versions are said to have captured Captain Kuro, though we don't get the details on why the live-action version believes this. Both versions come into conflict with and are beaten by Luffy and Zoro. In the manga, when Morgan is defeated, the town and even the Marines celebrate, and Morgan is arrested for his crimes, eventually escaping Garp's custody and taking his own son as a hostage. In the show, Morgan is defeated, but is left in command, with him being stripped of that command by Garp for reasons that I'm not entirely sure of, since besides lying about what happened in the fight against Luffy, I'm not sure what crimes he committed. At 32, we come up to Moody. Moody is a girl Full Body is on a date at the Baratier with. In the manga, she chuckles at Full Body as Sanji makes a fool of him, and Sanji openly flirts with her. In the show, no one talks to her, and she doesn't say or do a single thing, with Sanji only ever giving her a polite smile. She's this high because she looks and dresses the same and is on a date, but she's about as much of a character as the table's chairs are. Up to 31 with Kabaji. Kabaji is a member of the Buggy Pirates with long green side-swept hair, a vest, and a checkered scarf. Both versions ride a unicycle, use blades, and have an altercation with Zoro. Though in the manga, this is an actual fight with swords and knives that Zoro wins, while the show adds a completely original backstory between the two, of Zoro having killed his brother and Kabaji wanting revenge, pinning Zoro to a roulette wheel and throwing knives at him before Zoro and Nami work together to knock him out. So he looks the same, works under Buggy, and technically faces Zoro. At 30, we have Genzo. Genzo is the sheriff of Kokoyashi Village. His outfit, hat, scars, and facial hair are all pretty much correct, with the scars coming from Kurubi as they do in the manga. In a flashback, we see the pinwheel he started wearing in his hat to cheer up a young Nami who was scared by his gruff demeanor, though we do not get the story of why. In the present, he doesn't wear it, but that's likely due to the show Genzo thinking that she's a horrible traitor to the village. When he learns that Nami did not betray them, he rallies the villagers to fight against Arlong and save her, as he does in the manga when they learn Nami is double-crossed. But in both versions, they're stopped, and the Straw Hats face Arlong instead. At 29, we've got Helmeppo. Helmeppo is the son of Captain Morgan, who took after his father by abusing his authority and bullying the people of Shellstown. He acts tough when able to use his father's position over others, but becomes immediately cowardly to a comical degree when anyone stands up to him. In the manga, he lets his pet wolf run wild. When it's killed by Zoro, Helmeppo has Zoro arrested and strung up without food for 30 days, with plans to have Zoro executed afterwards. In the show, Rika bumps into him, spilling her food, which Helmeppo then stomps into the ground while insulting her, then gets into an altercation with Zoro that leads to him fighting Marines and being strung up, but at Morgan's orders instead. Both versions then take Zoro's swords for himself. His troubled relationship with his father is less cold and abusive than in the manga, and due to Morgan being portrayed as less evil in the show, Helmeppo does not become disturbed by his increasingly ruthless actions. And since we don't see what becomes of Morgan after Garp deposes him, we don't get Morgan taking his own son hostage in an escape attempt, a pivotal moment in changing how Helmeppo sees both his father and himself. Both versions lose their lives of luxury upon his father's arrest, and he becomes a Marine chore boy alongside Koby, initially resentful of his new life, but over time due to Garp and Koby's influence taking to it. As with Koby and Garp, Helmeppo has a lot more screen time after joining the Marine, but since he has less scenes overall, his personality and arc remains basically the same. Now at 28 we have Bellemere. Bellemere is an ex-Marine who found Nami and Nojiko orphaned in the aftermath of a battle, brought them back to Kokoyashi Village, and adopted them as her daughters. She looks and dresses basically the same, but the show version does not smoke. In the manga, Bellemere is crass and sometimes immature, but loves her daughters deeply, while in live action she is just a traditional and kindly mother figure. Instead of getting the jump on Arlong when he attacks the village, and shoving her rifle in his throat before he easily chomps it to pieces, and standing fearlessly against him as he threatens her afterwards, live-action Bellemere is instead easily disarmed as soon as Arlong enters, and twitches in fright as he yells at her. In both, Bellemere only has enough money to pay for herself or her two daughters. In the manga, though Arlong believed she lived alone, she admitted she had two daughters and says the payment is for them, unwilling to let them hear her say she has no daughters and make them feel unloved due to being adopted. In the show, Bellemere only says she has daughters after Arlong realizes that there are obviously other people living in the house. In both versions, she is then killed by Arlong in front of her daughters, creating a lifelong hatred of him and Nami. At 27 with, coincidentally, Mr. Seven. Mr. Seven never appears in the manga. We only hear that he is a member of Baroque Works who attempted to recruit Zoro, which led to Zoro killing him. In the show, we actually see this sequence, and he's portrayed as a swordsman, with Zoro then taking his body in for a bounty after killing him. Originally, the only image we had of him was a 2-second sketch done between chapters when a fan asked what he would have looked like. Recently, Oda did a more complete sketch of what he would have looked like for the show to use as reference, but since that's technically production material, it doesn't count to this ranking. And up to 26 now with Kuro. Kuro is the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, who spends 3 years undercover as a butler for Kaya's wealthy family in a long-term plan to steal her wealth. He puts on a caring front in front of Kaya, but secretly hates her, and is openly contemptuous of Usopp. In the manga, he planned to achieve his goals by having Django, a member of his crew, use his hypnosis abilities to force Kaya to sign everything over to him, and then have the rest of his crew stage a pirate attack on her village, killing everyone, with his fake persona being the only survivor, and his perceived close ties to the family removing suspicion of him being involved. In the show, Django is completely cut out, as is Kuro's entire crew except the Meow Band siblings, I guess. So Kuro's plan is different. Instead, on her 18th birthday, when she'll officially inherit her parents' shipyard, he meets up with her lawyer and claims Kaya wants the shipyard signed over to him. The lawyer questioned this, and so Kuro kills him, and then goes on to try and kill Kaya. So I'm still not entirely sure what the show version's plan was. Both versions look and dress pretty much the same, only less creepily lanky. Both versions fight with long swords attached to each finger like claws, and carry over the habit from his pirate days of pushing his glasses up with his palms. He is physically very powerful and able to move at incredible speeds. We see a glimpse of Django on a wanted poster, so we know he exists, though whether or not he's part of Kuro's crew, we do not know. And with the live-action Kuro claiming that he killed the majority of his own crew, he's likely just dead. Sorry, full body. At 25, we come to our first Straw Hat with Sanji. Sanji is missing his curly eyebrow, and both his eyes are visible at once. Though he smokes, he does not consistently have a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He dresses the same with a thin black suit with a blue shirt underneath, and has long limbs and blonde hair, but without any facial hair. His backstory is virtually exactly the same. He meets Zeph while working in the kitchen of a ship Zeph's pirates are attacking. Zeph learns of Sanji's dream to visit the All Blue, and saves him when a storm sinks both ships. With both of them starving for months on an island, Zeph cuts off his own leg to eat after giving Sanji all of the food he'd recovered. After being rescued, Zeph opens a restaurant called the Baratier, where Sanji works. Sanji and Zeph form a father-son-like relationship, and Sanji learns everything the ex-pirate knows about cooking and fighting, becoming a master in Zeph's leg-based fighting style that leaves a chef's hands free. Their relationships are similar, but different. In the manga, it's very harsh, with Zeph having explicitly beat lessons into him when he was younger, and both of them primarily communicating through yelling and arguing due to their stubborn, belligerent natures. In the show, they still argue and criticize each other a lot, but they're much better at openly expressing their feelings, with Sanji being a lot more personable overall. Instead of being incredibly charming towards women and more blunt and abrasive towards men, live-action Sanji is usually charming and polite with everyone, such as while in the manga when Full Body complains to Sanji, Sanji brushes him off while openly flirting with his date. In the show, when Full Body is openly yelling at another male guest, Sanji classily offers them both a bottle of wine to defuse the situation, and only politely nods to Moody. Though he does try to turn on his charms extra high with women and becomes enamored with both Nami and Nojiko. In the manga, Sanji vehemently believes food should never be wasted, beating the crap out of Full Body when he wastes soup. In the show, when a pirate tosses food onto the ground right in front of him, Sanji only politely admonishes him. But in both versions, he serves a starving Jin when other chefs won't. He warms up to Luffy and most people much quicker in the show, and is overall less mean and blunt. But he does become almost immediately hostile towards Zoro, and disparagingly calls him Mosshead. So while a lot is pretty close, his looks, lack of smoking, and personality, as well as the gutting of the Baratier arc in his major moments, make him the lowest ranked of the Straw Hats. But now up to 24 with another Straw Hat, Nami. Nami is adopted alongside Nojiko by Bellemere and raised in Kokoyashi Village, in the manga being much younger when she's found. The Arlong pirates attack her village and kill her mother in front of her. In the manga, Arlong notices her map-making skills and enslaves Nami as part of his crew, offering her a deal to buy back her village's freedom if she raises 100 million berries. In the show, she is not enslaved and comes up with this deal on her own. In the manga, her sister and the village know of her plight, though pretend not to keep her safe. In the show, they don't, so they all literally, absolutely despise her. They'll learn the truth later on in the modern day. Both versions hate pirates and steal from them to raise money. Both versions meet Luffy after stealing a map of the Grand Line, in the manga from Buggy, in the show much earlier from Morgan. In the manga, she is initially distrustful of Luffy after she learns he's a pirate, but over time sees his good nature. In the show, though she's cynical towards him, she warms up to him much faster. So much so that she doesn't steal the Mary and return to her village to pay off Arlong, instead only leaving when Arlong attacks Luffy to stop Arlong from killing him. She likes treasure and money in the show, but not to the obsessive degree of the manga. The show Nami complains about the rich hoarding money, while manga Nami wants to be the rich and hoard money for herself. Manga Nami often gets visibly irate to the point of screaming at and even hitting her friends when annoyed. but is very friendly and pleasant when things go her way or she needs someone to do something for her. In the show, she's not as temperamental, instead maintaining a consistent sardonic and laid-back personality, only becoming exasperated at most. Both versions are skilled with a bow staff, but not as strong as other members of the crew. Her hair, build, and outfits are all very similar to the early parts of the manga. In both, after raising the money and being betrayed by Arlong, Nami stabs her Arlong pirate's tattoo in hopeless rage, which Luffy stops, and she tearfully asks him for help, with Luffy beating Arlong and saving her village, leading to Nami fully joining the Straw Hats and becoming loyal to Luffy, finally pursuing her dream of mapping the world. So she looks mostly the same, her basic story is the same, but her relationship with her town and sister is different, and she's less greedy and much less temperamental. But now up to 23 we have Alvida. Alvida is the captain of the Alvida Pirates. She takes Koby prisoner and forces him to do chores on her ship. Both versions are overweight, but the original is much fatter and very ugly, while the show version just has a normal-looking face. Both versions fight with a large spiked mace and dress similarly. The biggest difference is that in the manga, Alvida is obsessed with being perceived as beautiful, and forces her crew and Koby to praise her looks, while in the show she is obsessed with being seen as powerful instead. Both are defeated by Luffy and eventually form an alliance with Buggy. At 22 we have Arlong. Arlong is a fishman captain of the Arlong Pirates. In the manga, he travels from the Grand Line with ambitions to conquer the East Blue. In the show, he's already in charge of the East Blue, with pirates like Buggy paying tribute to him, and now has ambitions to enter the Grand Line. Both versions operate out of the Konami Islands, extorting villages to pay protection money. One of those villages is Kokoyashi Village, where he kills Nami's mother right in front of her. In the manga, he forces Nami onto his crew for her map-making abilities and offers her a deal to raise money to buy back her village. In the show, this is Nami's idea. Both versions don't technically break the deal, but betray Nami by telling the Marines where her stash of treasure is, so he can keep her and her village under his control. Both versions have purple skin, saw-blade noses, and long black hair, though the manga version is much taller and more muscular than the show one. Both wear Ushanka-style hats and unbuttoned shirts, though in the show he has a second shirt on underneath it for some reason. He hates humans, thinking them inferior to fishermen, and enjoys subjugating and murdering them, but is also willing to work with them if they can benefit him, as he does with Nami and the Navy. And while the manga version does talk about the oppression fishermen face, the show version does so a lot more, with this seemingly being an even bigger part of his character. In both, we see Arlong can regrow his teeth and fights with a large saw-blade sword, but he barely uses either. And in both versions, Luffy eventually defeats him, freeing Nami and the village, with Arlong soon after being taken into Marine custody. With a major difference being that he both meets and fights Luffy much earlier when traveling to the Baratie, which he does not do in the show, and having a much bigger presence across multiple arcs than he does. At 21, we're up to Bogard. Bogard is a Marine wearing a suit and fedora who wields a sword and serves as Garp's right-hand man. He is not a major focus in the manga, with his face usually obscured beneath the brim of his hat and seldom speaking. In the show, he speaks more often and we get a full view of his face. But now, finally, the top 20 best adapted One Piece live-action characters, aka where I usually frickin' start these kinds of lists, starting off at number 20 with Ben Beckman. Ben Beckman is a member of the Red-Haired Pirates, who years ago spent time in Fuchsia Village with his crew. He's a lot less muscular in the show. Besides his clothes and hairstyle, he really looks nothing like the character. In the manga, he takes on a group of mountain bandits single-handedly, while in the show, he teams up with the rest of his crew to do so. But due to us not knowing a lot about him at this point in the manga, and us not knowing a lot about him at this point in the show, as well as his connection to the Red-Haired Pirates, he gets this high. Now up to 19 with Banshina. Banshina is Usopp's sickly mother. After her husband left to sail the seas, she tragically became ill and died while Usopp was young. The main difference between the two is their looks, as the show version has darker skin and completely lacks the long nose. But her personality and role in Usopp's backstory is exactly the same. At 18, we move up to our next Straw Hat, Usopp. The main difference between show and manga Usopp is his appearance. Though both versions have similar builds, big eyes, and long eyelashes, the show version lacks Usopp's distinct long nose, big round lips, and wide chin. They do dress very similar, and even have the same hair shape, but in the show, it's because his hair is braided, while in the manga, it's just poofy like that. In both versions, Usopp is from Syrup Village. His father leaves when he's young to become a pirate, and his mother grows sick. He starts lying to her and his entire village that pirates are coming, in the hopes that she would think her husband is returning and feel better. After her death, he continues this habit, annoying the people of the village and becomes a compulsive liar. In the manga, 3 younger kids follow him, calling themselves the Usopp Pirates, but they're completely cut from the show. And instead of just running wild on the island, he works as a shipwright on Kaya's shipyard. He's friends with Kaya, who he entertains with fabricated tales of his life on the seas. In the manga, they don't express anything more than friendship, but in the show, Kaya kisses him before he leaves the island, making their relationship more explicitly romantic. Both versions learn of Kuro's plot to try to warn Kaya and the villagers that pirates are coming, but no one believes him due to his years of lies. After this in the manga, Usopp runs off to try and face the coming pirates himself, despite his immense fear and relative weakness, with the Straw Hats inspired by his bravery in deciding to help. In the show, Kuro's plan is different, and so no pirates are coming. So Usopp just kind of stays in the mansion hiding with Kaya and doesn't actually help fight any of Kuro's men, or even really protect Kaya since Nami is doing that as well. In the manga, Usopp is inspired to set out to the sea on his own, while in the show he plans to stay in the village. Both versions are told by the Straw Hats to get in their ship, already believing that Usopp is one of them now. He doesn't show the same level of cartoonish fear as he does in the manga, except for in a 1/2 second scene when he's entering Arlong Park and visibly tremoring. So we also don't get to see one of his major characteristics, which is his willingness to overcome that crippling physical terror. Both versions are great snipers, using a large green slingshot that looks virtually exactly the same. And both versions are quick thinking, faking his death while being chased by a fishman he has no chance of beating in a straight fight, only to jump up and use one of his custom pellets to light the fishman on fire with a perfect shot. In both versions, Usopp continues to compulsively lie after joining the crew, often referring to himself as Captain Usopp and exaggerating the stories of every fight he has to ridiculous degrees. He eventually draws the Straw Hats Jolly Roger and states his dream to become a brave warrior of the sea. So he looks a bit different, and most of his moments are sadly cut from the show, but his personality is similar and his backstory is the same. Now up to 17 we have Makino. Makino is a green-haired bartender from Luffy's village. Despite dressing the same, the two have very different builds and demeanors, with the show version appearing more worn, while the manga version is more kindly. Both versions care for Luffy, though due to her very short screen time in the show, we don't actually learn that much about her. Up to 16 now with Kaya. Kaya is an orphaned wealthy girl in Syrup Village and is friends with Usopp. She believes that Kuro is her loyal butler, but learns he plans to kill her and steal her inheritance. In the manga, her inheritance is just wealth, while in the show, it's a shipyard. She's in poor health and stays indoors much of the time, enjoying Usopp's tall tales. In the manga, this is a natural sickness. In the show, it is changed to Kuro poisoning her. In both versions, when Usopp tries to warn her of Kuro, she does not believe him, thinking he's just telling another of his lies. In the manga, she learns the truth from Mary when she finds him injured. In the show, Nami tells her. Once Kuro's true nature is revealed, most of Kaya's major moments are completely cut out, and she just hides in her mansion as Kuro stalks her. But both versions are very kind and are responsible for the Straw Hats gaining the going merry after they save her, deciding when they leave to start studying to become a doctor. The biggest changes are her bonding with Nami and giving Usopp a kiss when he leaves. At 15 we move up to Chew. There was a valiant attempt to do his bizarre fish-lipped appearance, but it leaves something to be desired, looking just like the original while looking absolutely nothing like it at the same time. He is loyal to Arlong and looks down on humans. He has the ability to spit beads of water from his mouth at the velocity of rapid-fire bullets. In the show, he uses alcohol to do so instead of water, with Usopp using that alcohol to light him on fire instead of dousing him in some himself. In the show, he has a bit of sass to his personality that he does not have in the manga, such as when he calls Buggy honey. At 14 we have Yasopp. Yasopp is Usopp's father and the wife Benchina, who left to become a pirate when Usopp was very young. He is a member of the red-haired pirates, and we see in the show that he's a skilled marksman, as he is in the manga. He dresses the same and has similar hair, but to match live-action Usopp, his skin is darker. And now basically tied up to 13 with Lucky Roo. Like the original, he's fat, has a wide grin, and eats cartoonishly large pieces of meat. He's dressed in his green striped shirt and wears his goggles. But the show version's stomach is not hanging out as the original's often does. Like Yasopp and Ben Beckman, we don't know a lot about him at this point in the story. But he's a little higher than Yasopp due to having his moment of shooting a bandit from behind with a smile at the orders of his captain. And while we're here, there are other members of the red-haired pirates as non-speaking 2-second background cameos we can go over. Hongo and Lime Juice can be recognized by their outfits, but Lime Juice is quite a bit huskier. Pugsley is recognizable from his pale skin, dark eyes, and black and white striped shirt. Wait, that's not Pugsley, that's Bonk Punch. Huh. And Building Snake is not very recognizable, looking like they just grabbed some random guy they knew and tossing a last-second cosplay on him. But at 12 we have Karubi. Despite being less muscular, he looks closer to the source material than Chew. He wears a black gi and has his as-of-yet unidentified in the show chest tattoo. He believes fishmen are superior to humans, serves Arlong, and uses fishman karate to fight his opponents, with both versions scarring Genzo. In the original, Karubi specifically focuses on fighting Sanji, while in the live-action he fights Sanji and Zoro, though in both, Sanji defeats him in the end. Up to 11 we have Gold Roger. Gold Roger in the manga is a physically imposing man, while in the show he's of average build. He was executed by the Navy 22 years before the start of the story, smiling and laughing as an onlooker asks where he left his treasure, with his final words being a mixture of what he actually says mixed with the anime's opening narration and some lines made up for the show. But in either version, those words inspire many people and set off the Great Pirate Era. Garp is present at his execution in the show, with their relationship being seemingly a bit different based on Garp's harsh words to him. Though on Gold Roger's side, it seems closer, and we don't know all the details yet. Both are seen in long red coats with gold trim. Both have shaggy dark hair and curled mustaches. Both versions are central to the plot and inspire many of the characters across the series to find his treasure. And like the original, at this point we learn very little about him, with him being more of a legend in this world than a character. Alright, the top 10 best adapted One Piece live-action characters, starting with the man who will become King of the Pirates, Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy's got one of the most iconic designs in all of anime, and the show adapts most of that. He's got the straw hat, red shirt, and blue shorts. The hat has a much bigger strap to keep it on than the little string one of the original, and instead of wearing sandals, he wears full shoes. He has his cheek scar, and we see that he gained it by stabbing himself to prove how tough he was as a kid, as he did in the manga. Visually, the biggest difference is that he has curly hair instead of scruffy straight hair. Both versions ate the gum-gum fruit impulsively without knowing what it was, and gained the ability to stretch his body and absorb impacts like rubber, while losing the ability to swim. He idolized the red-hair pirates growing up and wanted to join their crew, but after being turned down later, decides to start his own, with Shanks giving Luffy his straw hat before leaving and telling him to meet him on the sea one day. He sails out with virtually no idea of what he's doing and hides in a barrel to survive a whirlpool, later being found by Koby and fighting Alvida. He travels to Shellstown and recruits Zoro. He meets Nami and faces Buggy in Orangetown. Fights Kuro and recruits Usopp. Travels to the Baratier but does not fight Craig, but does still recruit Sanji. And then faces Arlong and wins Nami's allegiance. Despite some differences, the basic of Luffy's plot is the same, and both versions dream of becoming King of the Pirates. One of the biggest differences is that in the manga, Luffy is pretty much always at 10. If he's happy, he's laughing loudly. If he's angry, he's screaming in rage. And when he's bored, he'll just fall asleep. In the show, he's still loud and exuberant, but comparatively quieter and more nuanced in his emotions and self-expression. Instead of it being, I'm gonna be King of the Pirates! It's, I'm going to be King of the Pirates. Though both versions do scream out, Wahoos! At full volume when excited. Both are incredibly strong fighters, but the manga version is supremely confident, while the show version expresses doubt sometimes, even outright telling Arlong he may not be able to defeat him. Another of the biggest differences is that in the manga, people often win Luffy's respect by having a dream and fighting for it, while in the show, only having a dream seems to be enough. Manga Luffy respects Koby when he stands up to Alvida to pursue his dream of joining the Marines. In the show, Luffy respects and likes Koby even though he was too afraid to stand up to Alvida, with Luffy doing so for him. Or with Usopp, who in the manga earns Luffy's respect because he's willing to die standing against Kuro's pirates to protect Kaya and his village. In the show, Usopp and Kaya are saved by Luffy, with Usopp barely being involved. Then Luffy tells Usopp to join his crew just because he knows Usopp dreams of setting out to the sea. The other biggest difference is that show Luffy is less selfish and more caring about what other people think of him. His show original catchphrase he repeats multiple times is that he's a different kind of pirate, to let people who are worried know that he's not one of those evil pirates, but a good guy. In the manga, Luffy doesn't care about this and wins people over with his actions, never trying to justify or defend himself. And as for his selfishness in the live-action show, there's a moment where he's offered food for saving Orange Village, and then he declines it. While in the manga, Luffy loves food and eating more than anything, and has stated that he specifically does not want to be a hero because if he sees meat, he wants to eat it instead of giving it to someone else. Though the show version does also love food and becomes excited whenever it's around, eating more than anyone else. In the manga, Luffy and Garp don't meet up for much longer, and when they do not fight. But we see in flashbacks that both versions were raised by Garp and that he subjected Luffy to extreme training to make him strong. There are some drastic differences in personality and temperament, but superficially and plot-wise, he's very similar, with his biggest similarity being his single-minded pursuit to become King of the Pirates, and how infectious it is to all those around him with a dream. But now moving up to 9, we've got Kuina. Kuina holds the same role as the manga, training alongside Zoro and becoming his friend and rival he challenged countless times, but could never beat. She is very concerned with the fact that as she grows older, her body will develop differently than her male peers, and that Zoro and others will be able to defeat her just by growing naturally stronger, and she won't be able to achieve her dream of being the world's greatest swordsman. Zoro demands that which of them will become the greatest swordsman will be determined on their training and skill, not on their body types, and Kuina is inspired to not give up, making a vow with Zoro that one of them will become the world's greatest, but sadly she dies the following day. In the manga, by falling down a flight of stairs. In the show, we do not learn how. She has her blue hair, but it's longer and more vibrant than in the anime/manga, and they wear different training outfits, with the biggest difference being that she's visibly older in the show. At 8, we have everyone's favorite character that you've all been waiting for, Nezumi. Nezumi is a corrupt captain in the Marines. He ignores and covers up the Arlong pirates' activities in exchange for bribes. When Arlong informs Nezumi of Nami's hoard of treasure, Nezumi immediately takes it for himself, infuriating the residents of Kokiyashi Village. In the manga, Nezumi has the crap beaten out of him by Luffy and the Straw Hats later on, with Nami demanding he use the stolen funds to help the villages Arlong devastated. Why they would cut this incredibly satisfying part out of the show, I do not know, but they do. And upon returning to Marine HQ, Nezumi told an untrue version of events, painting Luffy and the Straw Hats in a bad light, leading to the issuing of Luffy's first wanted poster with a high bounty for the East Blue. In both versions, he wears a mouse-eared marine hat and surprisingly even has his little mouse-like whiskers. Up to 7, we have the Straw Hat who rates as the highest, Zoro. Zoro looks virtually the same. He's got a similar build as he has at this point of the story. He's got short green hair, he wears outfits nearly lifted from the manga, he wears his dark bandana around his arm that he puts on for serious fights. He fights with his trademark 3-sword style, holding one sword in his mouth and fighting with the same kind of over-the-top nonsensical moves as the manga. Before meeting Luffy, he caught and turned pirates in for their bounties to fund his travel, becoming known as Pirate Hunter Zoro. In the manga, he also traveled with 2 other bounty hunters named Johnny and Yosuku, though neither appear in the show. In the manga, he kills Helmeppo's wolf when it attacks Rika and is strung up as punishment, with Rika bringing him food that he initially rejects, though after Helmeppo steals it, calls it disgusting, and stomps it, Zoro picks it up and eats it, telling Rika it's delicious. In the show, Rika offers Zoro food in a restaurant, bumping into Helmeppo and dropping the food she's carrying, that Helmeppo then stomps. Zoro picks it up and eats it and then insults Helmeppo, leading to a fight that causes Zoro to be strung up. So, while superficially similar, the meaning behind these 2 scenes and what they tell us about these versions of Zoro is completely different. Luffy meets and takes a liking to Zoro after seeing both events and learning of his strength and asks him to join his crew. In the manga, Zoro quickly takes a liking to Luffy as well and joins him, while in the show, he starts traveling with him, but is quick to say multiple times that he is not part of his crew until much later on. Both made a vow with Kuina when they were young that one of them would become the world's greatest swordsman, and after her sudden death took on her family blade Wado Ichimonji in her memory, traveling the world to fulfill that dream. The manga version is stoic and serious, rarely showing emotion outside of a quick smile, though he often becomes outwardly annoyed or belligerent when someone bothers him or he's made to look foolish. In the show, he is stoic as well, even in the face of death, but he's less blunt and simple, with a more laid-back, too-cool-for-school personality that's closer to Sanji's. Both versions are 100% committed to his swordsmanship and are incredibly skilled fighters, able to defeat a member of Baroque Works and fight against multiple Marines or fishmen even while injured. And while most of the other Straw Hats have their major fights basically removed, Zoro actually gets to fight multiple times, which with a character like that is a lot of his major moments. He challenges Mihawk immediately upon seeing him, regardless of the consequences, and is completely outmatched, but faces his death like a swordsman, earning Mihawk's respect and being told after to grow stronger and face him one day, with Zoro vowing to never lose again after that defeat. By the end of the show, like in the manga, he is completely loyal to Luffy, though in the show, he is referred to as Luffy's first mate. And both versions gain an immediate animosity for Sanji, constantly bickering, insulting, and trying to one-up each other. And most importantly, he gets lost very easily. Now up to 6 with Koshiro. Koshiro is a master swordsman and father of Kuina, who trained Zoro and other students in the Isshin Dojo in Shimotsuki village. He looks very similar, with his long ponytail and round glasses. But while the manga version is often seen with a calm smile on his face, the show version is more stoic looking. In the manga, he believed that women are not built to be swordsmen, though still allows his daughter to train in the art. In the show, we don't know his thoughts on the subject. We know his daughter is concerned about not being able to keep up with the males, but we also see multiple other female students training under him, so who knows. Both tragically lose his daughter, in the manga due to her falling downstairs, in the show in an unrevealed way. And when her greatest rival and his greatest student, Zoro, asks for it, Koshiro gives him the family blade Wado Ichimonji to carry on in her honor. Almost there, the top 5 most well-adapted live-action One Piece characters, starting at 5 with Zeph. Zeph was a feared pirate and talented chef known as Red Leg Zeph, who once sailed the Grand Line as captain of the Cook Pirates and dreamed of finding the All Blue. While raiding a ship, Zeph met a young Sanji. He heard the boy's own dreams of finding the All Blue and saved him when they were tossed overboard by the waves of a rough storm. His backstory with Sanji is the same. They become stranded on a small rock island with 1 bag of food and 1 of treasure. He gives Sanji all of the food while claiming it was only half and sending him to the other side of the rock to watch for passing ships, cutting off and eating his own leg to stop from starving. Zeph used the treasure to open the Baratier restaurant and taught Sanji everything he knew about both cooking and fighting. Both versions have gruff personalities, long braided mustaches, cartoonily tall chef hats, and a peg leg in place of the one he ate. And both dress in traditional chef outfits with blue scarves and red and white striped shirts underneath. In the manga, Zeph has a strict philosophy to feed anyone who is hungry, no matter the circumstances, even feeding the Krieg pirates despite the likelihood of them attacking him after. Sadly, the Krieg pirates were cut from the show, so we never got to see if this was the case. While the show version does often grow irate with Sanji, the manga version is constantly belittling and insulting him, mainly in an effort to push Sanji to leave the Baratie and pursue his dream of finding the All Blue. And we see in flashbacks that while teaching Sanji both cooking and fighting, he'd often beat lessons into him. In the show, Zeph is more open with his thoughts and feelings. Instead of pushing Sanji to leave with insults and anger, he just straight up tells him he needs to leave or he'll never be able to pursue his dreams. Once Sanji does leave, both versions of Zeph drop their rough exterior a bit and tell Sanji to take care of himself, moving Sanji to tearfully thank him for all he's done. He stitches up Zoro's wounds in the show, which he doesn't in the manga, and he shares a show-only scene with Garp later on where they discuss Luffy and the next generation. But moving up to 4 now with Haguma. He arrives at Makino's bar with his fellow mountain bandits demanding drinks, learns the red-haired pirates drank the place dry and gets mad, smashing a bottle Shanks offers him, causing a mess and calling them cowards when they all just laugh it off. When he returns later and Luffy starts bad-mouthing him, he gets angered, though less openly violent in the show. In the show, Haguma just picks Luffy up angrily and yells at him, while in the manga he drags him outside and straight up threatens to kill him. When the red-haired pirates come to Luffy's aid and easily dispatch Haguma's men, in the manga he uses a smoke bomb to escape, while in the show he just disappears in the chaos, in both taking Luffy with him as a hostage. He tries to escape by boat and in both versions tries to kill Luffy before being eaten by a Sea King. He wears a very similar outfit and has a similar hairstyle. The major difference is that the show version lacks his prideful side of the original, not boasting about his bounty to intimidate others. And now, the top 3 best adapted One Piece live-action characters, starting with Shanks. Shanks is a red-haired pirate with minor scruff and 3 scar lines across his eye. He dresses the same as the original, often wearing white shirts and black cloaks, and carries a sword. Long ago, he served on a ship with Buggy, and in the modern day leads his own pirate crew known as the Red-Haired Pirates, with each member being completely loyal and respectful of him. While spending time with his crew in Fuchsia Village, Shanks meets a young Monkey D. Luffy who idolizes him and wants to join his crew. Shanks takes a liking to the boy, but tells him he's too young and weak to join him. In the show, Shanks acts as an outright mentor to Luffy, talking to him with a mature wisdom and gently teaching him lessons. In the manga, Shanks is more playful and rough, teasing Luffy and not going out of his way to influence him, teaching and inspiring Luffy with his actions more than his words. Both versions enjoy drinking and partying with his crew when they have downtime, and gives off a relaxed and easygoing attitude, able to laugh off things others would be infuriated or insulted by, such as when mountain bandits start insulting him as a coward and pour drinks on him. But when those same bandits threaten a friend like Luffy, he drops his jovial nature, quickly and coldly ordering his crew to kill them when forced to. Luffy is kidnapped by one of the bandits trying to escape in a small boat. After a Sea King attacks the boat, Luffy is left drowning, and Shanks swims out to save him, losing his arm to the Sea King to protect Luffy. In the manga, his arm is eaten while saving Luffy and in the water, while in the show, this is after saving Luffy and while in the boat. But both are able to drive the monster off with only a look, and tells Luffy that it is only an arm when Luffy is horrified by Shanks' loss, showing that he values the life of his friend more than a piece of his body. And when he finally sails from the village, Luffy declares he's going to start his own pirate crew one day, and Shanks gives him his straw hat, telling him to meet him on the waters and return it, leaving an incredible imprint on the boy's life. And now, at number 2, we have Mihawk. Dracul Mihawk is one of the 7 warlords of the sea and is known as the world's strongest swordsman. He looks and dresses virtually identical, with his long open coat, cross necklace, and wide-brimmed hat, as well as his distinct pointed facial hair and piercing hawk-like eyes. Both are stern, stoic, and serious, rarely showing emotion and keeping his face in an unreadable expression most of the time. In the manga, the Krieg pirates cross him in the Grand Line, and he single-handedly decimates the majority of their fleet, pursuing them all the way back to the East Blue, seemingly just to kill time. In the show, he has already killed all of the Krieg pirates in the Grand Line, and is ordered by Garp to seek out and capture Luffy, leading him to the Baratie. In both versions, when he arrives, he is challenged and agrees to a duel with Zoro. In the manga, facing Zoro immediately and losing interest in Don Krieg. In the show, giving Zoro the night to prepare and facing him the next day. He is able to easily fight Zoro with nothing but a small dagger, with Zoro earning enough of his respect to draw his gigantic cross-shaped blade to face him, destroying 2 of Zoro's own blades when he does. When Zoro refuses to run, even at the certainty of his death, he earns Mihawk's respect further, and after striking Zoro down, he proclaims it is too early for him to die, and to continue his training to try to surpass him and challenge him again one day. In both versions, he leaves, intrigued by both Zoro and Luffy's proclamation to become king of the pirates. In the show version, then refusing to bring Luffy to Garp. And later on, we see him track down the red-haired pirates, presenting them with Luffy's wanted poster. His design, importance in the world, and most of his personality are all very close, with the only major difference being the reason he was brought into contact with the Straw Hats and some added scenes with Garp. Leaving us with the number 1 most well-adapted character from the original One Piece manga into the live-action adaptation being... No, not Whoopslap, sorry. But another character in Luffy's backstory, the Lord of the Coast. The Lord of the Coast is a sea king who inhabits the oceans beyond Fuchsia Village. It looks like a large gray eel with red eyes, sharp fangs jagging it out angularly, and a large striped fin. And basically just looks like a more realistic version of the manga design, which, to be fair, everyone on this list is. In both the show and the manga, it's the first Sea King we see, and serves the exact same role in the stories, attacking the boat Luffy's been kidnapped in, eating Haguma and Shanks' arm while trying to eat Luffy, and then being immediately intimidated by Shanks to flee. The only real difference is one of a mission. In the manga, we see Luffy sail out to sea on his own years later, with the Sea King making another attempt to eat him, only to be defeated in one punch from Luffy. Though there's no reason to believe that this didn't happen off-screen, and initially that scene was left out of the anime as well, though that doesn't affect the rating. And with a Sea King winning the ranking, I'm very, very disappointed Moo was only seen in a quick little drawing on the side of a map, because I would have loved for him to have won number 1. Alright, we've sailed all the way through the East Blue list, with the longest ranking list I have ever done. Next up will be the Grand Line with Season 2, where I wonder if we're going to be seeing as huge of a number of characters adapted as this season did. After looking through this list, was One Piece a good or bad adaptation in your opinion? Who's your favorite character in the manga who appeared in this show, and did you like them as much as you originally did? And let me know which anime or other franchise you want to see ranked like this next. Give me a like and a follow if I've earned it. Leave a comment to appease the YouTube gods and all that crap. And if you want to join my crew and help with my dreams to become king of whatever the hell we just did here, click that join button to become a channel member and vote in monthly polls for which adaptation will get the 3 C's next. Whew, I did not know this was even possible, but I am officially tired of talking, so goodbye.